Hello! Shoyan here. I'm a carpenter based in Japan. Today, I'm building a storage shed about 2 meters by 9 meters in this space. This time, I'm building a storage shed, but it's not the only building here. A large temple is being built in this countryside village, and on the side, there will be a storage shed. So this shed is going to be bigger than your typical storage shed. The exact size is 2200mm to 2300mm wide and 9 meters long. In other words, it's quite large. I'd like to share my process from start to finish. Here's where every building starts: installing the sill plates. First, I draw a line using ink. The process is the same, regardless of the size of the building. This storage shed will be built next to the main temple, which is called the Hondo. The foundation was a little misaligned, because this location is on an edge. As the location of the main temple building is already set, I can't avoid installing the sills on misaligned foundations. Even though it's for the temple's storage shed, the wood is all pre-cut, including the sills and columns. I only manually cut the fascia for the eaves, the barge boards, and the roof boards. That is all. The process is the same for any other building. I measure the bolt location and drill the holes. This time, I'm using home perimeter venting called kiso packing in Japanese. It may be known as a Johto vent system. This is 20mm thick and made of hard, reinforced plastic and set between the foundation and sill. Because the air will pass through them, open vents are not needed when using home perimeter venting. This time, the home perimeter venting is not meant to vent the crawl space, but to protect the sills. It keeps the sills and preservatives dry. Next, I install the sills. There's a saying that a good foundation is key to sports, work, and studying. Regardless of the size of the building, I always make sure the sills are installed straight. For this building, the sleeper height depends on the location. The perimeter sills are all the same height, but the center sill is slightly raised. The center sleeper won't reach the floor of the main temple building because it's higher. As a result, 2 sleepers will be stacked and installed on the sills to adjust to the height of the main temple. Despite the construction engineer's best effort to pre-cut the sleepers, they didn't fit perfectly, and I was unhappy with the result. However, we can install the floor as long as height and width are the same. As the floorboards will be installed longitudinally, I install the joists in the shoulder direction. As scaffolding will be used around this building, I will install the joists as high as possible to allow us to work on them. I have completed the installation of the sills and joists. Now, we begin framing. Honestly, even though it's deep in the mountains, I was hoping that there will be some scaffolding at the site. We set up the frame without scaffolding. We are lifting each section by hand. I thought shorter frames would be used, but they ended up being pretty long. The first girder installation was challenging. It's been a while since I framed the project entirely by hand. Now, I can really appreciate the lifting gears. After the frame is completed, all the other work is done manually, regardless of the fact that the building is located in the mountains. First, we install the studs and the diagonal braces on the perimeter. The actual diagonal braces will be installed without temporary diagonal braces for this size of building. As these are also pre-cut, I will install them as they are. A plumb bomb is then used to ensure the columns are vertical. As soon as they are vertically aligned, I firmly secure the diagonal braces for the studs. Doesn't the building look shaky? In Japanese, we call this state gombodachi or suppondachi, and we usually attach the roof before building the walls in order to prevent shaking. However, by installing the diagonal braces and studs beforehand, even a long and narrow building will not shake. In this way, the roof can be installed safely. I work around the fascia boards. They have not been cut yet. Since I wanted to join the fascia to the core of the rafters, I measure the actual lengths and cut them at the site. As there is no scaffolding, we are using step ladders and a plank. It's dangerous, but the weather is beautiful. It's a perfect match for the scenery. The roof slope is gentle, so it's safer than working on a typical roof. However, it was still difficult to work without any scaffolding. Once on the roof, we used 2cm cedar planks, the sheeting boards, and standing seam metal panels. This metal panel can be used for a horizontal roof, so this roof slope is gentle, unlike the tile roof. This roof will be used to set up the scaffolding for the main temple, so it is made thick and sturdy. The exterior walls use 12mm thick fireproof boards. They will be double layered to meet fire resistance standards. This is how framing progressed on the first day. I'm installing the sashes. There will be 2 for this building. The fireproof boards can be installed until the sashes are installed. So I'll install the sashes first, then the fireproof boards and the furring strips. The columns are covered with double-layered fireproof boards. It is about 24mm to 25mm thick in total. I installed 21mm furring strips on the backside of the sash. This means that the fireproof boards around the sash will protrude slightly beyond the sash. As a result, the planks on the fireproof boards will be able to cover the sash's edges, making them easier to install. Next, I install the waterproofing sheets on the boards. This is a high-quality thermal barrier waterproofing sheet. I tape the sheet to the top and to the wall. Usually, I don't use tape, but staples didn't work in this case. When all three sheets are blown by the wind at the same time, if only the sheets are taped without being taped to the boards, the sheets will fall off. By taping the top of the bottom sheet to the board, it won't blow away. Of course, I also attach the waterproofing sheets around the sashes. Now that the waterproofing sheets have been attached, I install the furring strips. The furring strips are made of Oregon pine, and the size is 21mm by 45mm. I install these furring strips 360mm apart. Oregon pine is used for the furring strips because the nails won't go into cedar. Japanese cypress can also be used, but 21mm thick Oregon pine is readily available all year round. Oregon pine is also relatively resistant to rot, which is why it is commonly used for frames. While nails don't fall off and it's hard to rot, there are a lot of knots in this wood. Now, I will install the exterior wall using cedar planks. The cedar plank used for an exterior wall is called shitami-ita in Japanese. If it's for a ceiling, we call it tenjo-ita, ceiling board. And if it's for a floor, we call it yuka-ita, floorboard. Only when used outside, it is called shitami-ita, looking down board. The plank is 12mm thick and 240mm wide, made from cedar heartwood. The plank edges are not processed. Only the front surface is finished with a planer. Because the seams will be battened, the bottom nails will be hidden. I use normal iron nails on that part. Installing all the planks in this manner is fast, but I think it takes more effort than using processed wood without battens. Cedar planks for a wall can be installed in two ways, using battens or shiplap joints. A batten is a long flat strip of squared wood installed vertically on each seam. I will also nail on the battens, so I draw a line using chalk. After that, I remove the chalk line and start nailing. This ensures that the bottom nails for the planks and the nails for the battens won't overlap.
得手がありましてね。実際にこう板当ててね。
As we finished installing the planks, I cut the ends. The battens can be installed without cutting the ends. The battens will be longer than this line, so I must cut the planks first. The planks can also be cut with a circular saw by setting a furring strip a few centimeters under the cutting line. That also makes it easier to cut straight. It's hard to tell which is faster, doing it that way or cutting the planks with a handsaw. I've always used a handsaw for the bottom of the cedar plank exterior wall since the old days, because it can't be undone if it shifts. As I finish cutting the ends of the planks, I can finally install the battens. Even if the battens are shifted about 3mm to 4mm, it will be hard to notice. So I set a piece of batten on the center of the seam and draw marks there. Then I secure the top and bottom of all the battens along the markings. After that, I confirm the verticality of each batten and nail them while adjusting their position. I use 2 nails each for a plank and a batten, so a total of 4 screws are used to secure a plank. The batten nails won't overlap if the plank nails are slightly shifted. Despite that, I've already hit 4 to 5 nails on this side. I lost my concentration when nailing the planks. After all, it's human nature to want to place a nail in the center of the marking. I secure 1 nail to each of the 2 positions by dividing the space between the battens by 3. Using only a single nail is not ideal, since the center of the wood grain is easier to crack. This board and batten wall will only be completed after a tremendous amount of nailing. Finally, I cut the ends of the battens so they protrude about 7mm at the bottom. Some people extend them longer, but the general length is 7mm, 8mm, or 1 cm. That's the best balance, in my opinion. I have finally finished installing the sills, framings, sashes, and cedar plank exterior walls for this 2.2 meter by 9 meter storage shed. It's finished in the backcountry style, which is a nice design. Board and batten siding is my favorite. We finished the exterior first because of the nice weather. In the next video, I will install the insulation, floor, wall, and ceiling, which are all made of cedar. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.